the school. Have to, I mean, she's gonna have to. It's kind of like. Okay. That might be 2 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, Charlie, see Charlie. There we go. Okay, council, will everyone please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I call this meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Up next, we have roll call.
Counselor Hensley,
Here.
all counselors present and a quorum has been declared.
Okay, thank you. Up next, we have the agenda approval. Councilor Vihil,
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, please start voting.
I approve.
Thank you. The motion carried unanimously.
Okay. Next, we have citizen comments. This is the segment of the agenda to where if we have anyone in the audience or on Zoom who would like to make some comments. If you're in the audience, we have you come up to the podium, turn the red light on and start speaking. We do ask that you keep your comments to within 3 minutes. If you're still talking at the 3-minute mark, I will politely ask you to end the conversations at that time. Ms. Martinez, I don't have any comment cards.
I don't have any either, Mayor.
So we'll go ahead to the Zoom participants, and if you don't mind, can you give them instructions on how to raise their hands so that we can recognize them?
We actually don't have any participants, Mayor. but-
Okay, well, we don't have any participants, so we're gonna go ahead and close the citizen comment section. And we're gonna move on down to ceremonial items, introduction of building official, and also our technical crew leader.
So I'm here this evening to introduce my two newest staff members. And so we have David Dudleston. He's our new maintenance technician / crew leader in our maintenance department. And we have our new building official, Tyler Reynolds. They've been with us about a month for David and a couple months for Tyler, and I'd forgotten to introduce them, but they are wonderful additions to the development services team. And I'm very lucky to have them.
Thank you. Are you gonna, do they know about the 2-page speech that they're supposed to recite?
I told them that it had to be memorized and not read.
Okay, but feel free to say, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll see if council have any comments for you, okay?
Well, my name is David. Things I like to do is fishing, hunting, camping. I just love the outdoors. And I love that I finally got the opportunity to work for the city. I love this, I love this town. And I'm very grateful.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tyler?
Hi, I'm Tyler Reynolds, born and raised in Alamosa. I'm just really happy to be here and have the opportunity to work with such a great team and supportive team. I just super happy to be here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Daniel,
Thank
and
you.
then Councilor Grego.
Thank you, Mayor. Just really wanted to say welcome, and I know you've been here a while, so welcome late, but we're glad to have you. And thank you for the work you're doing for the city. I think you two are going to be a great asset to the development services team, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Grego.
Yes, I too would like to welcome both of you guys. Got a question for David. You're a maintenance technician, crew leader. What,
Yes, sir.
who are you? What group of guys are you leader of? Is streets, maintenance? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Just the maintenance and custodial.
Oh, okay, that handles all the buildings and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay,
And make sure they're all clean and tidied up.
and then, Mr. Tyler, you're a building official. What do you mean by that?
So I guess I go around and inspect buildings. I also make sure that everything that is being built is built up to code.
So you're the building inspector now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Grego. Okay, well, thank you all so very much. Welcome to our team. We're looking forward to seeing you throughout the city and wish you much success in everything that you do. Thank you. Okay, we have an elected official. We always like to recognize our elected officials when they're in the audience. And we just want to say thank you for Commissioner Lasky for showing up to our meeting tonight. We appreciate the service that you provide for Alamosa County. Okay, all righty. So that brings us to the next item, which is consent calendar A. Councilor Vihil.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar A.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting.
Counselor Hensley,
I approve.
the motion carried unanimously.
Okay, that brings us down to regular business. And the first line of business we have up under Development Services, a public hearing and second reading for ordinance number 11, 2023.
Good evening again. So I'm here for the public reading of the intergovernmental agreement with Alamosa County so that we can begin the engineering of the Alamosa levy system. So this agreement just allows us to move forward with the engineering contract we have with AECom and allows us to equitably split the costs of engineering based on left bank, right bank, based on the number, basically the linear feet of the levy and how much is in this county's jurisdiction and how much is in the city's jurisdiction. So this just formalizes our agreement with them so that we can move forward and start engineering.
Okay, thank you, Ms. James. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and open up the public hearing for ordinance number 11-2023. An ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement with Alamosa County for engineering services for repair in the Rio Grande levy system. So we're going to ask if we have anyone in the audience who would like to come up and make any comments. Feel free to come up to the podium at this time. Okay, I don't see anyone in the audience who's coming up, so we'll go ahead and extend an invitation for someone on Zoom. Ms. Martinez.
If you're on the Zoom app and you want to speak for this ordinance, you'll just use the raise hand feature in the bottom of your screen. Or if you're on a telephone, you'll dial *9.
So we don't have anyone on Zoom. So we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Council Carson.
Mayor, if there is no comments or discussion on this, I'd go ahead and make a motion that we approve ordinance 11-2023 on second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting.
I approve.
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, first reading and introduction of ordinance number 15-2023.
Good evening, council. You guys are moving really fast. I'll try to keep this brief. As you all know, we try to make regular amendments to our development code. And it's actually something that our community really excels at. When you talk to a lot of other communities and jurisdictions and people who do this kinds of work, they're like, wow, you guys have been doing these code amendments. So when we find something that's broken, we try to fix it. Most of these changes are similar or they're exactly the same as covered in the work session with one exception. Based on Councilor Hensley's comments, We did include a buffer restriction from the vape and tobacco shops from schools. It's 600 feet, which matches the separation from other type 2 retail. So we thought that was kind of a good sort of middle ground to meet. And that's somewhat in line with the recent accessory use of alcohol change that was just enacted. Other changes include removing any sort of limitations on how many cottages you can have in a cottage cluster on campus zones. This should hopefully help Adams State or the Alamosa School District, looking into the future. Changing the size limitation for medical office buildings in the central business district. So currently it's limited to 750 square feet. This would just change it to, if it's on Main Street, it can only be 750 square feet or smaller. One is adding the tobacco and vape shops to the type 2 retail definition. One is just a simple, typo fix. One is to allow certain specific light industry uses in the central business district and in the commercial business zone without an on-site retail component. And then the other is to establish some sort of process where we can initiate the vacation of a public utility easement. Oftentimes we come across plats from the 80s that have Columbine Telephone Company that no longer exists, but there is a utility there, and we have to provide some sort of process to remove that easement. It's really a pretty big lift to ask a individual citizen, and their chances of hearing back from Xcel Energy or some other public utility is slim to nil. So that's something where we can use our power essentially to facilitate these sorts of things. Planning Commission unanimously recommended these changes, and with that, turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you so very much. Councilor Daniel?
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Mayor, due to a professional conflict of interest with the place I'm employed, I will be needing to abstain from this vote.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Daniel. Councilor Carson?
I don't know if you guys had discussion on this. If not, I'd go ahead and recommend that we approve this and set it for second reading and public hearing on August 16th at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? If not, please start voting.
I approve.
The motion carried unanimously with Counselor Daniel abstaining from the vote.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the next item on the agenda. Motion authorizing staff to apply for EIAF grant.
So this is the traditional program that we apply for in almost every cycle, the Energy Impact Mineral Funds. These are two new iterations of the program. So one is called More Housing Now and Main Street Live. So there's sort of specialty programs that they're unrolling. There's a set amount of money that they can disperse through these programs. They're thinking that it'll last 3 cycles. And so we're applying for the first cycle for the Tierra Azul project. We applied for $1.9 million to fill the gap between what we were able to secure in the transformational affordable housing grant money and what we need to finish installing the infrastructure so we can build the first 137 houses for Tierra Azul on South Craft Drive. And so that was submitted last night. So we're hoping that will be successful. And then we are going to submit a second application in the Main Street Live program, and that will be for our activated alleys, for 2 activated alleys. And that's, of course, the string lights and the new stormwater infrastructure and the new paving and murals and all the great things from the downtown plan in our activated alleys. And we're waiting on getting some better construction numbers before we submit, and we think that we'll be able to apply in the December round. So this evening, I'm asking for approval to apply for both. One is retroactive to yesterday and one is in the future in December. So thank you.
Okay, Councilor Veal?
Mayor, I think this is a great idea. I'm really happy to see you going after the alleyways. That's something I think we all have been pushing for. So if there's any further discussion, I move that we authorize staff to apply for the EIAF grant programs, More Housing Now and Main Street Live.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, but I will be abstaining from this vote because there's a potential conflict of interest. Okay. All right, start voting, please.
Counselor
I
Henson.
approve.
The motion carried unanimously with Mayor Coleman abstaining from the vote.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that brings us down to city clerk, municipal clerk business, motion to adjust city hours, city hall hours of operations to 4:10s, Monday through Thursday.
Sure. Screen. Okay. So this is on before you because it's in motion to adjust city hall hours of operation to 4:10s, Monday through Thursday, from our current schedule of Monday through Friday, 8 to noon, closed for lunch hour, and 1 to 5. So I'm gonna go through my presentation for you. So this occurred because of a discussion. The discussion started happening for the change in operations due to the school district moving toward a 4-day week in the fall. We formed a staff committee to research the possibility of the change for the city, specifically to city hall operations to a 4-day week. We obtained information from other municipalities working a 4-day week. We got information from local organizations that are currently on a 4-day week. We received all the pros and cons of the schedule, and then we received information on benefits and a lot of studies that were done on a 4-day week. Based on all of that information we gathered, we created a proposed schedule to transition to a 4-day week. And this was easier to achieve because a lot of city departments right now that operate in City Hall are currently operating on flex schedules that were established within each department, coverage remaining the same to the public. However, the flex schedule created a little bit of issues when some people would come in for business on Fridays and people that are on the 4-day flex schedule weren't available. So transitioning to the 4-day week is going to be consistent and have our employees here that the public would be needing to interact with. So our proposed schedule is going to be Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. We would open to the public during all our working hours and close on Fridays. Doing this adds an extra 2.5 hours per day and 2 hours of service to the public per week. So we're open 42 hours over 40. Currently, we open 8 to 12. We close for the full hour during lunch right now, and then open 1 to 5. Our pros versus cons. Pros, open for more flexible hours, benefits the public and access to our city services that are done at City Hall. There's a better work-life balance for staff with a 3-day weekend. It's possibility of lower utility costs. It's proven to be increased productivity, the retention and recruitment opportunity with no-show costs, promotes flexibility as an employer, aligns with strategic plan goals to provide more access to local government. We have daycare savings costs for employees, and it allows employees the ability to attend sports events that currently happen on Fridays, and they don't have to use their time to attend those events. The cons, it's not equitable for all staff, so this is applying to City Hall hours. So our Parks and Rec, our library, our golf, they're all gonna stay the same hours. They can work flex schedules if allowed by their supervisor, if it works for them. This is 1 less day a week open for services to the public, but still gives them 2 hours extra. 10-hour days can be strenuous for some staff. 10-hour work days are not plausible for some of the staff, like daycare pickup, school pickup, etc. But it can be voluntary where possible. Would be a change for residents to adapt to. And during holiday weeks, we'd only be open 3 days, and then we would have to change our window information on the front of the building, which is the cost of about $750. Other organizations in the valley that are already on 410s are all of our school districts. We have the city of Monte Vista, town of Downlort, Rio Grande County, Alamosa County Road and Bridge, and then there can be other smaller organizations that we didn't get the data from them, but they're probably operating on 410s. The other municipalities in Colorado, there's quite a few operating on the 410s already. Their schedules vary. Some of them are open 8 to 4, some 7 to 5, and then a few that are operating on the schedule we're proposing, which is 7 to 5:30. So the committee did get feedback on the schedule. So we got our supervisor feedback. Currently, many departments have the flex schedules where employees are working 4/10s or a different shift that's already different than our regular 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. So we've gotten feedback from our supervisors, including it's absolutely incredible. The pace has been more manageable and it allows their non-local employees who don't live in the city to save large amounts on travel. Other people have said it's working well, staff seems to like it, and their productivity hasn't changed. I don't believe needing to keep the windows open during the lunch hour is necessary. Then admin staff has been enjoying the trial run. We have made a few adjustments, but overall it seems to be working fine. Our field crews, it works well for them and has been productive. Has required the supervisors to plan and prepare a little more to make sure we utilize the full 10 hours in a day. And then we got other comments for the pros. Productivity has been consistently higher and morale is at an all-time high. The cons of the flexible schedules is that it's hard to follow who's working and when. So if it's somebody comes in, it's not their job, they can't answer the questions for the public. So changing to Monday through Thursday, being consistent would be beneficial for everyone. Employee feedback. So personally, I have been enjoying the 4/10s, gives them an extra day to spend with family or go to appointments they would normally have to take time off for. They can get more chores and errands done, and it saves them $200 a month in daycare fees. All they said is getting used to working the longer days was a bit of an adjustment, but it wasn't terrible. And they feel like their work-life balance has been so much better and find themselves coming back on Mondays more rested and more productive. Other people in another department said that they love it, allows them more time to recharge, and they have fewer absences. At the time that I created this PowerPoint, they had been working the 4/10s for a month. Since that time, it's probably been about 3 months that they've been doing it now. And another person said it's going well. Having worked it before, I'm comfortable with the flow and especially appreciate it after having worked the past 7 months, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. The common theme is that the 3 days off are worth the extra hours spent on the days of work. So the committee decided, is this possible? And we think it is. The implementation could be this. We could start our new hours August 14th, which is in line with our school district start date. And then we would provide public education on new hours. Why do we think it's possible? Most services we offer to the public are available online. We saw this happen from COVID when the city offices were completely closed. The building was entirely closed, but we were still able to operate and provide our services to the public. Currently, the only services that we don't have online are payments for liquor fees, sales tax licenses, open records. But we do have the possibility to get those all online. And actually, like liquor fees, if I can get them for the city, they're already online for the state. Permit fees, I confirmed with Jim, they're online. Our water bills are paid online, court fees are paid online. So we have a majority of our services offered online. Our library and city hall lobby, they will still be open to the public different hours because our library is going to be open their hours. They're not switching to this Monday through Thursday. Those different departments can flex schedules to accommodate something that works for them, as long as it's works for their supervisor. The rec center is also going to be open different hours, as well as PD admin is going to remain their same hours. For any employee or department that cannot work or doesn't want to work a 4/10 schedule, they can arrange with their supervisor for what will work for them. The goal is to be consistent Monday through Thursday, 7 to 5:30, and have our services available to the public during those hours. So if somebody in their department needs a different schedule, they can arrange that with their supervisor. So the reasoning for this, many departments are already doing a flex schedule, and Fridays are our slowest days for services. We've tracked the amount of people coming in on a Friday, and over the past 5 months, we've had a total of 49 people coming in for our services, and it averages out to 3 people per Friday. There's a generational advantage for this change because our younger generation, which is our future workforce, they're preferable to a work-life balance approach. And then we have savings for our employees. Our employees are saving costs and fuels if they're traveling from far, they're saving on daycare costs, and they can save their accrued time more so they can take good vacations and don't have to use that time for appointments or anything and lose that time. And then the work-life balance. employees are more productive. They have that extra day for activities that they would normally need to take the day off for. And then just like in conclusion, like if we do move to 4/10s, the Monday through Thursday, we are providing more hours of service to the public. So right now we only give them 40 hours. We close during a lunch hour. A lot of people try to come in and get services done. They can't. This is opening our lunch hour back up to them, giving them 2 hours extra per week. So we give them 42 hours a week.
And then the only other item I wanted to add on to Holly's is, you know, since this is a public presentation, I think there is the wrong impression was provided in one of the articles written regarding this. And it was insinuating that council didn't discuss this in a public meeting or form the committee or anything like that, as if that was something out of the ordinary. And I just want to remind everyone, we have a lot of committees for the city that have nothing to do with city council. We've got employee teams that are for our public information team. We've got an employee team that works on the barbecue. We've got a records team. We've got an employee wellness team. We've got a lot of different employee teams. And so I just want to make sure from a public facing perspective that this isn't seen as if it was anything different than the other types of employee teams that we have. And when it is time to bring something to council's attention, that's when we do it. Some of these teams work on items that never get things brought to council attention. So I just want to make sure that that's very clear, because I think people could get the wrong impression from reading some of that coverage.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I'll turn it over to council, Council Rio.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
I just have a few comments and my thoughts on this. So I work a 4-day week as a teacher, and it's awesome. And we've been, Center School District was the second to last district to go to the 4-day. Now Alamosa's going there. It is a little bit of a shock to the system, but I think it's necessary. I agree 100% on morale. I agree on 100% on work-life balance. I agree. Fridays give people the opportunity to take their car in for an oil change, to clean the gutters, to clean, do stuff that they just can't maybe get done over the weekend or during the week, excuse me. So I'm with all of that. I do think this is a great tool also for recruiting and retention. As the city of Alamosa, we can attract people to work for us, and maybe this will keep people to stay as well. I do like that we're going to 7 in the morning so people can get their business done before work. I really appreciate that we're open over lunch. People can come in their lunch break and get business done. And if they can't, they can come after their workday is done. So I'm good with all of that. Just a question I had, there's no court on Friday, right?
No, we rarely schedule court on Fridays. If we would have to, we would work that out, but we did talk about it and we would ensure we are not scheduling on a Friday.
Okay. Okay. And then, I thought, because people talk and I've gotten a couple phone calls of, well, what about Fridays? Well, then it's hard to argue against that data, right? The 49 over 5 months averages to 3 people a day. It's really hard to argue against that. So but before I saw that, I was thinking, just as an option, can you have like a rotating flex where a person or two, maybe just a person because it's not so busy, works on a Friday, like once a month, and you just rotate that through the people who work for that department?
My concern would be for the public to keep up with what day is that. And if we so right now, if the public thinks we're open 5 days a week, 8 to 5, and we're only getting 3 on a Friday, like I think it's going to be empty. And so we're having staff sit here, and then it's not just going to be one, because it's what service are we opening it up for? Is it finance? Is it development services? Is it municipal court? So it makes it more complicated, harder for the public to follow. And so considering we were only getting 3 anyways, I I would doubt that we're gonna get a rush on a rotating random Friday.
No, and I agree with you.
Okay.
That's where that's my thought process.
Yeah,
But I will say, if this passes tonight and we go through this, if we have a large public outcry that they want to go do their business on Friday, can we look at that? Something like that. If it were to change, which I don't think it probably will, but can we have that option there?
it's always council's prerogative. I would just say, you know, and as I shared with other people who are asking this question is I feel a lot of this is this perception of what the work week is supposed to be and this perception and not lining with what the actual usage is. And so if we get this mass of people saying, you know, I can't believe you're not open on Fridays. I think the next question is, did you ever go in on a Friday? And could you have gone a different day type of situation? Because I don't know why there'd be this naturally groundswell of pressure because they weren't coming on Fridays type of thing. The other thing is, you know, some of our employees are changing their lives. I mean, so, you know, they're working with daycare to not pay for a Friday and things like that. So we just need to be deliberate with it. And make sure we're asking maybe questions back if there is some sort of groundswell.
Okay, thank you. And then my last comment is, and I said this at our retreat 2 months ago, is I just hope and I know, and our expectation, I think I can speak on behalf of council, is that our services and our products that we give to the public is impeccable. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rehill, Councilor Griego, and then Councilor Carson.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Like I said at the work session, this is something that we're gonna have to educate the community. Because right now, I've gotten several calls and I told people to go to the city website and call the mayor, call the at-large people, and even call some of these other council peoples. You know, and express why you guys don't feel that they're just calling me. But some of the stuff that I've gotten out there is, you know, you guys did a salary survey. We increased the salaries for the employees. You know, I explained to them that we got to retain, you know, some of these employees, you know, you have to explain it. And then you gave them 2 more holidays on top of that. This is stuff they're telling me, okay? And now you want to shorten the week so they don't have to work that much. Well, what's going on down there? See, that's why we have to explain that. You know, you just said that we're adding 10 more hours to the thing. Well, the average person out there doesn't understand that. He says 410, you know. What, you know, they don't understand that. So it's so important. Some of the contractors, so that means we got to get our line together. And I mean, on Fridays, if we want to do something, there's nobody going to be there at Public Works to do the contracting stuff. You know, it's a hassle right now. I'm doing some of the jobs, they said, and then to pull another day off, you know, it slows down contracting stuff like that. You know, I know it's going to help morale. I know what the employees are doing and stuff. But once again, like I said, if we don't educate the community out there, there's going to be some outcry. And I know there is a bunch of people out there right now. And I tell them and I stress it, call your council people. You know, your council people should be out there. They're your representatives. They should be out there telling you what's going on, what's happening. And they feel that they're getting more and more, the employees, you know, and I support the employees. Don't get me wrong. I've done it for the past 40 years. So, but as a representative of the people, I'm listening to what they're saying, and you know, it's something that the average individual says, "Wow, how I pay my bills on Fridays." But now we're saying we can go online. A lot of people don't have a computer to go online to pay, you know? So stuff like that, I think sometimes we take a lot of this stuff for granted and we know it here, but we take it for granted. And the normal individual out there, he's the one that's saying, hey, well, you're forgetting about us. So that's my input. Thank you.
And Charlie, I agree. The education is extremely important. And so to take this opportunity to hit some of those points that you raised to help from an education perspective is, you know, when you look at a market survey, there's a lot of organizations needing to increase their rates of pay because of what's going on out in the market, especially for some positions. And so from a city perspective, I think we've done a market survey. We've tried to keep it about every 5 years to make sure we're still in line from a retention perspective and an attraction perspective. And so that is normal, regular business. That's not like giving anything extra to employees. That's paying employees what the market is. And so it's important from an education perspective to be clear with that. From a holiday perspective, obviously employees benefit from getting 2 more holidays, but I feel like city council's discussion was focused on not having the right holidays to reflect what we should be recognizing. And when we looked at that, we didn't have Martin Luther King nor the Juneteenth to recognize the importance of our history as it relates to African Americans. And I think city council's decision was as much about that as any benefit coming from the employees. It wasn't even requested from the employees. So I think that's an important educational piece. And then when it comes to the 410, they're not working less hours. So they're working the same amount of hours, just in 4 days instead of 5. So the holiday value stays the same type of situation. And the public is getting 2 more hours. Yes, you can pay stuff online, and not everybody does stuff online, but in regards to utility bills, you can have it taken out automatically or use a little drop box that's right outside, that we know a lot of individuals do as well. And again, you know, I get contractors, they get rushed and it's crazy trying to meet deadlines and all that. But we were only having 3 to City Hall, and some of those weren't even for city business, and they weren't all contractors. So it's just, I agree 100% from a public education perspective and so when we do look at if council makes this motion tonight, we'll make sure to try to make that as clear as possible to help people understand.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Grego and Ms. Brooks, Councilor Carson, and then Councilor Daniel.
Personally, I'm a fairly rigid 40-hour-a-week person. You know, I'm a salary person, so I do a lot more hours than that. Often, not as much, you know, I don't want to, but we do. The thing is to address the scenario of the people that are making a big deal about this. I'm typically one of those people. You know what I mean? I'm typically a complainer. I complain all the time. And that, you know, the 7 a.m. to the 5:30 is great because now I can come in, you know, and pay it before work any day of the week except for Friday, and I'm gonna get pissed. You know what I mean? Friday morning at 7 is the day that I'm going to want to go in and pay it, and they're closed. And so I'm going to complain about it. That's just the way people are. And the thing is, again, I see it from a staff perspective. They're in the trenches. They know what's working for them. They know what's not. You know, the world has changed. And I can almost bet you, you know, again, I can bet you that the people that are complaining about it are my age or probably older. They're more generational people because they're used to that hard, rigid, you know, time. And again, they're only going to complain about it on that day that they decide they want to do it on a Friday because it does work good. I want to go pay my bills at noon or in the morning, and you know, typically you pay them online, but we're not going to make everybody happy. People are going to be pissed that one day. You know what I mean? The one day they can get there on a Monday, it's going to be great. They can get there at 7 or 5:30. But we're not going to make everybody happy. We have to find that balance with our staff and the managers that figure it's not working. I'm sure we'll come to you and we'll figure that out. One thing I have confidence in is our city staff to make good decisions, bring us good data. And you know, there's a reason we do increase that pay. We want to attract people. I tell people all the time, go work at the city. It's a good place to work. It's hard to retain people. It's hard to get people to work nowadays, period. So paying better, treating our employees better. It's a cyclic effect. It will affect the community better. Our employees treat the people better. And so, you know, I think the entire community benefits, again, except for me on Friday morning when I'm pissed because I can't pay my utility bill. You know what I mean? But that's just the way it goes. And so, you know, I am in support of this. So let's see how it goes, guys.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Carson. Councilor Daniel, then Councilor Krebs.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
So first is I wanted to say thank you to that staff committee that did that. You all put a lot of work in here. You had a lot of input and you were piloting it before you brought it to us. I feel like you did a lot of work to make sure we got good information. Similar to what Counselor Carson is saying and what Counselor Beal said, any change like this is gonna take time to adjust to. And any change is hard. It doesn't matter if it's for the best reason. It doesn't matter if it's gonna improve everything. It doesn't matter if it's gonna increase time. It's going to impact some people in a way and they're like, oh, I forgot, right? Like, oh, this doesn't work. And so I really feel like what we have in front of us, knowing where we are with our workforce and also really thinking about the services that we provide. And while not everything can and should be always online, and that should not be an expectation we have of everyone in our community, I 100% believe that. We now have 42 hours, other days of the week that people can come and do this in person. And we adapt and adjust based on what we need to adapt and adjust to because we're people and we're humans and that can happen. So I appreciate everything that was brought forward. And I really do think that this is going to be great for our staff. I don't think it's going to negatively impact our community so much so that it causes a disruption in the services that they get, especially based on the number of people we know come in on Fridays. So I just wanted to say thank you for the time, effort, and energy to get this ready for us. And that I think it is going to be an adjustment. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a negative impact. An adjustment doesn't necessarily mean negative.
Thank you, Counselor Daniel. Counselor Cribb?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm basically echoing what all my fellow counselors are saying. And for me, we're very public facing and we have to be aware of that. But up here, I feel I also have to be aware of all the hard work that the people here that work for the city do collectively to make this a great place for the public to come and have their services done. And recognizing the fact coming out of COVID and dealing with that huge social change and coming out of COVID and recognizing that there's more that we can do to help increase that work-life balance and realizing that putting the employees' needs as a mom of 4, being stuck in that 5-day work week for years, I am thrilled that this is being offered to parent families that are both working and, you know, the single moms that were probably very stressed about what they were going to do about Fridays being off and things of that nature. So I commend the employee group that did all the data on this, and I commend the city manager for having an open enough mind to look at that data and compare it and say, you know, run with it and listen to what the employees' needs were. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Cribb. Counselor Hensley, we see you. There you go.
I have a lot of background noise, so I'll just talk real quick. I agree with everything everybody up there has said. I think a lot of preparation went into this. I also look at this very similar in the sense of banks and things like that when they started doing drive-through and it changed the hours of the lobbies, things like that. All of these things, it's just sort of the natural flow of adjustment of the workforce and how things are going. So anyway, just wanted to throw in my 2 cents.
Thank you, Counselor Hensley. Okay, I don't see any more red lights on. So, Counselor Daniel?
Thank you, Mayor.
You're
If there are no further comments, I move that we adjust the city hall hours of operation to 4/10s Monday through Thursday, which would really be 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. So that's a little more than 10 hours, but 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and open during lunch.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and I just have one comment. Any other comments? I'll go ahead and just wrap things up. What I found in the work environment and the work climate, today's market, you can't really put a price on what it means for the quality of life for staff or what it means for them to come back to work recharged. But you can put a price on some of the savings and benefits to staff being able to be free on that Friday. The one employee who stated that she would save $200 a month. That's $2,400 a year. That's over $24,000 over 10 years. That's a substantial amount that one employee that's making a huge difference. So for the council and for staff to put in the hard work and time to see how beneficial this is to not only our staff, but also finding ways to make sure that we accommodate for the community as well. I greatly appreciate all the energy that you all have put into this and the thoughts that come behind it, I think, and welcome all of the comments that have come from our concerned council members up here today. So with that being said, we have a motion, we have a second, and if you all don't mind, please start voting.
I approve.
The motion carried 5-1 with, I'm guessing, is it with Counselor Griego casting the no vote?
Okay, thank you. All right,
6-1 with Counselor Griego casting the no vote.
okay, good. That brings us to the next item on the agenda. City Manager Legal, first reading of ordinance number 12-2023.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance goes hand in hand with ordinance number 13-2023, which you passed on first reading at your last meeting and which is set for second reading in a public hearing at the upcoming meeting on August 16th. So they will both be on for public hearing and second reading at that August 16th meeting. This is the intergovernmental agreement that is between all of the local governments in the San Luis Valley relating to adopting consistent 1041 regulations governing water export between all those local governmental entities and providing a mechanism for any local government that has a application in front of it that would be impacted by these regulations. The intergovernmental agreement provides for that government to formally recognize input from the other local governments participating in the intergovernmental agreement about what their thoughts are on the valley-wide impacts of that application that may be only in front of, say, Alamosa County or Saguache County. So it's a cooperative approach spearheaded by the COG to bring matters that could well have an effect from the valley-wide perspective, allow for formal recognition of that valley-wide perspective amongst all of the local governments who would be involved. When ordinance number 13 was considered, I had attached a draft of this IGA. The draft that is attached to the Novus agenda for this ordinance, number 12, has been modified. There were some comments still ongoing from some of the local governments that resulted in some changes. The one that's now attached is the most up-to-date version coming from the COG. I don't think it's going to change again. If it does, between now and next reading, I will highlight that for you. If it changes after next reading, it may need to come back in front of you, but I don't expect that to happen. I think we've got the final form. COG's been working on this for quite some time. So that's the background in brief, tied in with the background for the other ordinance that established the areas and activities of state concern. If you got any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Counselor Carson.
Just to add a little bit of clarity around this particular ordinance, I think council's pretty up to speed, but for the public as well. Keep in mind, or this IGA, keep in mind that this IGA that we're developing is only triggered upon a project that would export valley from the basin, from our valley. So again, it's only triggered if that is a criteria of whatever project that may be. And so we never, ever want to have to use this IGA. You know, that's our wish, is to never have to pull this out of the toolbox. But it gives us a pretty incredible power and cooperation to protect the water in the valley. So just wanted to put that out there. Again, it's only triggered by that. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Carson.
And with that, unless we have discussion, I'll make a motion. Oh, go ahead.
Counselor Grego.
No, I was gonna make a motion also.
Go ahead, I'll second.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we pass on first reading ordinance number 12-2023 and set it for a public hearing is it August the 16th? At 7 o'clock or soon thereafter.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting.
Counselor Hensley,
I approve.
the motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, council. Brings us up to the next item on the agenda, committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? Council Cripps?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the library board meeting the end of last month, and the library is doing very, very well. The attendance to the library it just keeps increasing, and an increased activity door count. The survey is ongoing, so if you haven't filled out your survey yet, the library really wants to know what you like and don't like and what you want to see at the library. And I can't not talk about the library and ignore the successful summer program. It was amazing. And this year they included an outreach program. They got a grant for an outreach program specifically to Zapata Park for the kiddos that couldn't make it all the way over here to the library. And that went very well. And so that's my report. Everyone's really happy and looking forward to next summer.
Thank you, Council Cripps, Councilor Carson, then Councilor Daniel.
Just to touch base again on the COG meeting and the DRG meeting, we have done a lot of work on this IGA. I want to thank Eric for being a part of that and the rest of the staff that's been involved. But, you know, I just want to extend thanks to the county as well and to everybody else that's been involved. Again, this is a pretty powerful tool. And again, you know, we just have to protect ourselves from ourselves in some cases. And we've done a really good job of that, of writing in and thinking about every kind of contingency. I mean, you know, at least what we can at this time, but that is going on at the COG. And just wanted to reiterate to Rachel and to Heather about the roundtable and money for the levy. There is money out there that is available. So just keep pressing that. And that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended both the Homeless Coalition and the Alamosa Housing Authority at the end of last month. The Housing Authority continues to do really cool. They are having really good conversations, are learning more about housing, are really looking at how they can have a bigger impact, I think, in the community. And that's pretty exciting. Holly, but it did come up. They're wondering if anyone has applied to the committee, and I forgot to ask you, so I apologize.
I haven't gotten any applications.
Okay, so if you know people, let's get them excited about joining the housing authority. It would be pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool group of people, and they're really doing some neat work and getting ready to revise their larger internal strategic plan. They did submit one to HUD, but they're really looking at what they're going to do internally to be more effective, and I'm pretty excited about that. For the Homeless Coalition, I was really proud to say a lot of people did their homework that needed to get done. And so it is an active working committee. We are working on the education and outreach about what homelessness and housing and affordable housing and all of those systems mean for us. And so the committee is currently working on what those educational points need to look like and ensuring we have really good accessible information, and then how we're going to get that out to the community. So really exciting stuff coming soon from that committee, but they're all doing really, really solid work, and it's been nice to see that movement.
Thank you, Councilor Daniel. Okay, brings us next to staff announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. As Harry works his way up, I'll do a few quick calendar reminders. Friday at 9 a.m. at Zapata Park is a ribbon cutting for the Mestis case signage that commemorates that. So it's 9 a.m. this Friday at Zapata Park. Also on Friday, from 2 to 7 is National Night Out, which will be here at Cole Park. And so we've combined the National Night Out with our city services fair. So we encourage you guys to attend if possible. And then also on Friday at 5:30, Councilor Daniel and I will be doing the Counselor Connections as part of First Friday. So a lot going on this Friday. And then Monday, Holly will be leading the candidate orientation, 6 PM here at City Hall. So that process is rolling forward. And with that, I'll turn it over to Harry.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brooks.
Good evening, council, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
I just wanted to kind of give you a quick update of where we were at on some of our bigger projects that we started this spring. I think the biggest one everybody's eyeballing is Victoria Street. We're on the home stretch. You know, it's been a good project. We replaced all the utilities, curb gutter, sidewalk. We started paving earlier this week and hopefully weather permitting, we'll finish tomorrow with the paving. So by the end of next week, we should have all the crosswalks and curbside painting completed and be able to open it up to the school district or to the citizens here at the end of next week. So pretty excited about that one. And then the next project we have that's kind of raised a few, you can see the little picture on the right as we started paving, is the, go ahead, Holly, to the next one, is the overlay. We're gonna hold off here probably a couple of weeks, let school kind of the circulation, people get used to it. And then we'll be working on these side streets that are adjacent to Victoria. So that's just gonna be an overlay, but it'll kind of clean up that whole area, all the access to OMS. Then our contractor, he just started, he moved on to 7th Street. There's 7th Street and Alamosa Avenue. You can see there, it's by the North River Greenhouse and the RV park, that there is going to also be a reconstruction. We'll be doing both sides of the Sunset Park. We'll be providing all the additional diagonal parking that you'll see there in the pink. It'll help really beautify that area. I think it's going to be a nice addition. Hopefully be done about mid-October is the plan. We've been working closely with Wade and Amy Price and kind of the residents in the area. So that'll be a good project, a big benefit there. And then the last one I think that we have coming up is the center lift station. I know Councilor Griego, you had reached out asking what all that mess was there behind John Deere tractor. That is the new sanitary lift station that we started about a month and a half ago. It's one of the critical lift stations we identified in the MUP. And so depending on parts, we're waiting on a control panel. We should be wrapping that project up here in about the next 3 to 4 weeks. So it's a big win for us. That was one of those that it was very time pressing to get completed. So other than that,
Was that the one that if it failed, it was like 2/3 of the city's system goes down?
yeah, it collects everything up by the high school, across the highway, and then it all goes through there, everything at the development south of Craft and all that area. So it was a big one that we needed to get off our plate. So pretty excited about that one.
See, I added some excitement there, Harry.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all we have.
Okay, Council Griego, then Council Carson.
On that street, and I don't know what street it is, off of Victoria where we built that pond. Did we do that one also?
So
Because
church, it's
people from
church,
the housing
yeah.
were
Mhm.
concerned about the way they tore up that street.
Yeah, we rebuilt that to the entryway, basically. All that area that the heavy equipment beat up when we were building that basin, that was a complete rebuild in there. So
And
we
repaved-
shored it up and repaved it.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Council Griego. Council Carson.
So I don't mean to be a killjoy. So I'm gonna ask a hard question or a couple hard questions. The side streets that you're gonna overlay, that are into Victoria. Where'd that money come from? Was that the 500,000? Was that our normal fund? Cause I don't recall that was in our streets fund, but was that, and also I have a second part to that question. Was that cause and effect? Cause I don't remember that we had planned to overlay them, which again, I'm fine with it. It needs it and I'm happy that they're getting it done. But was it a cause and effect of the Victoria Street? And that's why we had to redo them because of the equipment and all the kind of the rough, the damage to the street. And I'm just curious, because I'm trying to be really rigid about where that money's going and making sure that money's being
Yeah,
used. exactly
absolutely.
where-
And I'll
where
let-
we're supposed to.
I'll let Harry answer the second part as far as the cause and effect and why those were done. The only 2 years that we identified where the overlay was going to go was the first 2 years. The rest of the time it was a lump sum and then staff was going to determine where the needs were from an overlay. So from a transparency promise to the public, when council had that work session, identifying those first 2 years of overlay helped balance that concern concern council had from, we're still stuck doing First Street. What can we do from a south side perspective? And
Okay.
so the first is either first 2 years or first 3 years, the overlay was designated to specific streets to help with that compromise from that council was struggling with type of situation. But after that, it wasn't earmarked for any specific street. And then as far as why those were picked, I'll have Harry answer
No, I
that.
got you. And that's kind of what I was thinking had happened. So I was, because I remember that, but I didn't know if we were in year 3 or 4 of that. Okay.
So those streets were in need of an overlay, adjacent to Victoria. We knew we were gonna have a big impact on those streets, especially after the basin. It only made sense to try to focus and concentrate right there by the school district and kind of clean up those roads and all the lateral roads that tie into it. So we chose, the staff, Ray and myself chose to do the overlay in that area, spend that 300,000 that's identified in the street maintenance fund for that area, just to kind of clean up that whole little area, and then we'll move on to Washington and that area next year.
Good answer. That's kind of the answer. Yeah.
You said you had a few, was it a
That was it. It
two-part
was kind of
question?
2 parts, yeah. So
Okay.
that was it. I just didn't want, like I said, I didn't want to be a killjoy. You guys are doing great work. I was just, trying to be rigid with that fund. So, thank you.
Thank you, Council Carson. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Reynolds.
Well, the kill buzz is coming up now. So Andy, if you want to come do a little bit of an update, I'll put a visual up for you.
All right, well, good evening, council, mayor. First, I want to start with Friday. I'm just super excited for that day. Those are examples of activation in the park, and we might come back to that as we as what we're about to look to. But yeah, both Friday morning, it's a special day. And I hope to see you there. And then, the city services fair is also a nice day too. So anyway, those are showcase events for our parks. And I think activating the space can take care of some of these problems we're dealing with. But in summary, as you know, we were able to fix all of the park bathrooms after a few years. And we were able to put these stainless fixtures in there. Prison style latrines, etc. And I guess the good, I tend to be a glass half full person. So the good news is those aren't getting ripped out or torn off the wall or what. I mean, the infrastructure is still there, right? But we haven't solved the problem clearly. We had to close the Boyd restroom because of people putting stuff down there. They're not using the needle disposal things either. So safety concerns, and obviously with all that. So we had to close that one. The chief and Heather and I have been brainstorming. What can we do, right? And we're looking at stuff like more cameras, increased patrols, remote locks. None of that really probably solves the problem, but it could help, right? We're studying all of that. Reducing the hours they're open, maybe just closing them and they're open special events. Obviously, we don't want to do that for the public. We want to have bathrooms, but it's not fair to our staff to be subjecting them to that. The staff, it took 8 hours just to clean the Boyd restroom, and I don't know how many of them, but it was at least, one staff member, and that's just not fair. So when we look at other cities and other places, I think activation, creating buy-in, right? A park adopt a program. People like this gentleman sitting in the first row who take care of their park or let me know if something's going on over there. We need to build that. We need to build a robust program, create buy-in, activate spaces, kind of the stuff we heard with the Malm Trail. Once we activated it, we haven't had many vagrancy problems or some of the stuff we've seen in other areas of the river corridor. So wanted to bring that to your attention, that's what we're working on. Is there any questions, or Heather, do you have anything to add?
I think we just really want to make sure you guys are aware of it. We're not just willy-nilly closing a bathroom. And honestly, I agree with Andy. I feel like we have made progress, that the facility's still intact. So the sink's still there, the toilet's still there. So we have made progress from that perspective. It's just the amount of destruction of jamming stuff down into the toilets and just some things like that, and what staff's having to clean, and the capacity to spend that much time cleaning it, let alone the conditions that we're putting them in. So we really are brainstorming. We really are gonna be doing some public education, and looking at different things. But, you know, if people have answers that we haven't thought of, we're open to it as well. So.
And it's important to get it out in public that this is happening. So that's another reason that we're here, right? We want people to be aware of what's going on and hopefully be upset. So.
Okay, we got quite a few lights on. Counselor Daniel, Carson, Krebs, and Grego.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Andy, for this report. So those toilets are actually fairly hard to clog. That's why they're built the way they're built. So this takes energy, effort, and this is like this is a willful act. This is not someone put too much toilet paper down the toilet and we had an accident. That's not what this is.
It's boots and clothes.
Right, like this is not acceptable. I do have a question though, because we've talked about the needle receptacles for a long time, and that was something that I was really, are there needles actually also in the receptacles too? Like, are people using them at all, or are they completely empty?
There's a few, I don't have a good count.
That's okay.
But certainly when they were cleaning this, they were pulling them out of there.
Yeah.
So.
So I do think, so some of that is creating the activity where it does feel like people are using the space. I think that that's a great idea. I don't know if I know that we have active groups of like runners and community members who use the trails and who want to use the parks. Is there a way to tap into some of that passion and start building those teams that way? So it doesn't fall all, like, we don't want citizens cleaning up what was like, that's not what I'm saying, but are there ways to use those groups that already exist to help activate some of those spaces? And is that something that the rec board could look at, kind of making a more formal appeal to?
You know, we have a Friends of the Trails group, but it's pretty young. I honestly think that maybe we want a different market, because as we develop that and it has a good start off the ground, I almost probably wouldn't want to put everything on them, right? But there's got to be other groups that you mentioned that we haven't thought about, like service clubs or something, youth, you know, daycares that bring their kids to the parks or something, park users that we could tap into to help formulate that.
Want to peel this a little bit apart, because I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. So Andy already has as a goal this year to start a park adoption program.
Okay.
So that would, you know, either maybe surrounding neighborhoods and or Kiwanis Club, Rotary, or if there's, you know, the honor society at the high school or things like that. But the adoption would be more of your normal trash pickup, right? And maybe trying to keep an eye out, and then we can, you know, so that doesn't necessarily get into activation of activities, which also seems to be a little bit of what you're asking, type of situation. But we kind of already had a goal from an adoption perspective, which obviously doesn't clean this, but if we could get more people watching and invested, maybe that can help a little bit, type of thing.
And I forgot to add, I just really want to thank the staff. Like, we know this is not a normal expectation of their job. So I just really appreciate the work that they do to keep it as open as possible.
Thank you, Counselor Daniel. Counselor Carson, then Counselor Krebs, then Counselor Grego.
So, you know, I'm a big fan of leveraging the technology, and I've talked about cameras before within reason and not invading privacy. And, you know, I know we've talked about the conviction and how hard it is to get somebody convicted. That's a ton of disgusting damage, and that's really deliberate and intentional. And it sucks for everybody else that's not doing that. You know what I mean? Anybody that's using the park. I mean, I've had to stop and, you know, talk to people before at the parks. But you know, it sucks that for what some bad people are doing, we have to punish everyone. So I would say just look into look into something, some sort of way. I mean, at the cost it's gonna cost us to fix this or maintain something like this regularly, there's probably a way that we can create a loggable system at the parks with some sort of unit. I've used them and I've seen them installed before. There are key lock boxes or some sort of box where you walk up to and you have to, it has to take your picture, you get the key out, you go use the restroom, you put the key back, and there's an identifiable snapshot of who took that key or, you know, and then we prosecute them. I mean, the thing is you have to hold somebody accountable for that. We've done things, we made it better and we've moved forward. But, you know, obviously it's not enough and there's still jerks out there doing bad stuff like that. So we have to hold people accountable and there is ways to do that. I mean, they've been doing it at car dealerships forever, but you can mount a box that you can walk. There's several different kinds. There's key codes, there's biometric, there's, you know, we find the one that works. You open it up and take the key out, you and your family use the restroom, you put the key back. And then we take them out during the winter and lock them, whatever, you know what I mean? But there has to be something like that on the high end's $1,000. I don't know what one of those toilet costs, but I can guarantee you it's probably more than $1,000. But you know, that's on the high end. They make cheapy ones from 200 to 300, but you can buy these kind of things now that are pretty secure. They'll take a bat hit. They'll take, you know, they're secure boxes. And you know, we see if they work. I think something like that is necessary at this point. You know, we leverage the technology that's out there and there is stuff. It'll take your picture. It'll add you to a database. It doesn't take any storage at all to hold 10 million people. You know what I mean? So you can have a database that tracks that picture or a code, you know, you call the city, you get a code. I get that it may be a pain in the ass for staff, but maybe you call Parks and Rec and you get the code for that day. It's a dynamic code that changes. You have a key code. There's things that do that too. You can buy software that'll change your code every day. A person that logs into the city website into their account. There's different ways to do it. That's what I'm saying. But a key lockbox with biometric or a code, they're there, they work. I've seen them. We need something like that, something to track whoever's doing it.
Sounds like something we'll talk to IT about.
Thank you, Council Carson, Council Krebs, then Council Grego.
Thank you, Mayor. And I echo Counselor Daniel's comment of, I commend your staff for having to do what they have to do sometimes. It's not pleasant at all. My only comment is, I want to circle back. It's been mentioned a few times, the Adopt the Park program that you're pulling together. I'm very excited for when you're in the final stages of that and you're ready to bring that before council. And do you have a general time frame of when we might see something?
Not yet.
Okay. Alrighty. But when you do, I'll probably be one of the first ones. So, and you know that, so. And I know Kiwanis will probably compete with Rotary a little bit over some parks, but that'll be it. But
That'd be great.
yeah, the sooner you can bring it before us, I'm sure the sooner the community will step up and it'll be really exciting to watch. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Krebs, Council Grego.
Thank you, Mayor. We definitely need help from the neighborhood and there's got to be a way. I don't think they do neighborhood watches anymore, but there's got to be a way of maybe even putting together some kind of a pamphlet and going to each neighbor saying, hey, please help us out. You know, that's their park. You know, that's their facility. Why, just like you said, why are we having to lock it down because somebody's coming around from somewhere, maybe from somewhere else just to destroy it, you know? But there's got to be a way to go around that block or 2-block area with some kind of pamphlet saying, hey, help us. We need your help. You know, and even show them a picture of this. This is what's happening out there. I'm sure those people, you know, if they see something, they're going to call the chief. They're going to call. But we need the help out there, and we can't do it by your staff or somebody adopting a park. Come on.
That's an important message for the public too, is if you see anything suspicious, anything, to call dispatch. It's better to be overly cautious than under. So that is a message we'd like out there too, that, you know, there shouldn't be people in the park at 1 a.m. If you happen to be up and, you know, can't sleep and you see that, you should call dispatch.
But we need to find a way how to get to those neighbors there. And make them aware of what's going on. I'm sure they're aware, but,
Yeah.
but to emphasize, hey, like you said, if something's going on, make a call. Make a call. You know, and they're not gonna say, okay, Andy called us in at 1:30. You know, it's something that it'll help us out. You know, and those people,
I agree.
you know, they have a nice park there and nice facilities that for somebody else to come and trash it, that's not right. So.
Okay. Thank you, Andy.
Told you it's a buzzkill. So
Yeah,
that's all we have from a staff update.
that really was a buzzkill. All right, so that brings us to council comments. Do we have any council comments? Council Cripps?
Thank you, Mayor. I have two comments. One is I helped the Friends of the Library over the weekend install a new story in the story walk around City Hall. So I urge everyone to get their steps in and go check it out. It's really fun. And my other announcement is I spoke to my family and friends and they're all in agreement. And so I would like to officially announce that I will be running for Ward 2. It's been a lot of fun and I've learned a lot and I want to continue. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Krebs. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, if there are no other comments, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.